In 2018, Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, the richest man in the world at the time, paid $0 in federal income tax. Let me repeat that. The man who was worth over $100 billion, who was building rockets to go to space for fun, paid absolutely nothing in federal income tax. Zero. In that same year, the average American household paid over $12,000. How is that possible? How can one of the wealthiest people in human history pay less in taxes than a school teacher, a firefighter, or a nurse? The answer you usually hear is loopholes. It's a convenient word. It sounds like something shady, something that needs to be closed. You hear about complex trusts, offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands, and armies of high-priced lawyers and accountants. And yes, billionaires use all of those things. But that's not the real reason, that's just the how. It's the mechanics. It's not the fundamental principle. The real reason billionaires don't pay taxes is much simpler and much more profound. It's because they don't have income in the way that you or I do. Let that sink in for a moment. Jeff Bezos does not get a paycheck from Amazon. His official salary is a token $81,000 a year, a number he hasn't changed since 1998. Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, takes no salary at all. Their wealth is not in cash, it's in assets. Specifically, it's in the stock of the companies they founded. And in the United States, you don't pay tax on assets until you sell them. This is the single most important concept you need to understand about how the rich avoid taxes. It's called unrealized capital gains, and it's the secret source of the billionaire class. Here's how it works. Let's say you buy a stock for $100. A year later, it's worth $200. You have a $100 unrealized capital gain. You don't owe any tax on that gain until you sell the stock. Now let's scale that up. Let's say you're a billionaire. You own $10 billion worth of stock in your own company. The stock goes up by 20% in a single year. Your net worth just increased by $2 billion. How much tax do you owe on that $2 billion? Zero, because you didn't sell the stock. You just held it. Your wealth grew, but you had no income in the eyes of the IRS. But here's the problem. Billionaires, like the rest of us, need money to live on. They need to buy food, clothes, houses, yachts, private jets. So how do they do that if they don't have any income? This is where the real magic happens. They borrow, they go to a bank, a private wealth management division of a place like JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs, and they say, I have $10 billion worth of stock. I'd like to borrow $100 million against it. The bank says, of course, Mr. Billionaire. We can offer you a portfolio-backed loan at an interest rate of just 2%. And just like that, the billionaire has $100 million in cash to spend. And how much tax does he owe on that $100 million? Zero. Because it's a loan, and loans are not income. This is the secret. This is the entire game. It's a three-step process that the ultra-wealthy use to live completely tax-free. It's called buy, borrow, die. Step 1 is buy. You buy an asset that is expected to appreciate in value over time. For billionaires, this is usually the stock of their own company. For other wealthy individuals, it could be real estate, art, or a diversified portfolio of stocks and bonds. Step 2 is borrow. Once the asset has appreciated in value, you borrow against it. The bank is happy to lend you the money at a very low interest rate because the loan is secured by your assets. If you fail to pay back the loan, the bank can simply seize your assets. It's a very low-risk proposition for them. And for you, it's a source of tax-free cash. You can use this cash to fund your lifestyle, to make new investments, or to do whatever you want. And the interest you pay on the loan is often tax-deductible, which lowers your tax bill even further. Step 3 is die. This is the most morbid but also the most crucial part of the strategy. When you die, your assets are passed on to your heirs. And thanks to a loophole in the tax code called the step-up in basis, the original cost of the assets is stepped up to their market value at the time of death. Here's what that means. Let's say Jeff Bezos bought his Amazon stock for $1 per share. His cost basis is $1. If he sold it for $180, he would have a $179 capital gain per share. But if he dies and passes the stock to his children, the cost basis is stepped up to $180. If his children then sell the stock for $180, their capital gain is zero. They pay no capital gains tax. All of the capital gains that accumulated during Bezos's lifetime are wiped out, tax-free. This is how generational wealth is created. You buy assets, you borrow against them, you die. Your heirs inherit the assets with a stepped-up basis. They sell them tax-free, and the cycle starts again. This is not a secret. This is not illegal. This is how the tax code is designed. It's designed to reward wealth, not income. It's designed to reward capital, not labor. And it's why the gap between the rich and the poor keeps getting wider, because you and I are playing the income game. We're taxed on every dollar we make. The rich are playing the wealth game. They're taxed on almost nothing. And as long as the tax code is written this way, that's not going to change. The real reason billionaires don't pay taxes is not because they're cheating. It's because they're playing a different game, a game that you and I were never taught how to play. So the next time you hear a politician talk about raising taxes on the rich, ask them this: are you going to tax their income, or are you going to tax their wealth? Because if you're only talking about income, you're not even in the right conversation. You're not even playing the same game, you're just a pawn in theirs. Or too right. Let's dig deeper into this, because it's not just a clever trick. It's the fundamental architecture of modern wealth. The entire system is built on this distinction between income and wealth, and it's a distinction that works against 99% of the population. Think about your own financial life. You work a job. Your employer pays you a salary. Before that money even hits your bank account, the government takes its cut. Federal income tax, state income tax, Social Security, Medicare. It's all deducted automatically. You are taxed on your labor. You are trading your time for money, and the government taxes that trade immediately and efficiently. Now, consider the billionaire's financial life. They are not trading their time for money. They are owners. They own assets, stocks, real estate, private companies, art. These assets are like a field of crops. The crops grow every year, increasing the owner's wealth. But the owner doesn't pay tax on the growth of the crops. They only pay tax when they harvest and sell them. But what if you never have to harvest? What if you can live off the promise of the future harvest? This is what the borrow part of the strategy enables. It's a financial tool that is largely unavailable to the average person. If you go to a bank and say, "I have a 401k with $100,000 in it. Can I borrow $20,000 to live on?" The bank will laugh at you. They might offer you a high-interest personal loan or a credit card, but they won't give you a low-interest, non-taxable loan against your retirement assets. Why? Because the system isn't designed for you. It's designed for them. The banks are more than happy to lend to billionaires at incredibly low rates because it's a win-win for them. They get to charge interest on a loan that is virtually risk-free because it's backed by a massive portfolio of liquid assets, and they get to strengthen their relationship with some of the most powerful people in the world. It's a club, and you're not in it. Let's look at a concrete example. In 2020, Elon Musk needed cash to exercise a massive tranche of stock options. Did he sell his Tesla stock to get the cash? No. He borrowed against it. He pledged 92 million of his Tesla shares as collateral for personal loans. This allowed him to get the cash he needed without selling a single share, and without paying a single cent in capital gains tax. He was able to live, to invest, and to get even richer, all while reporting a taxable income of zero. This isn't just about a few billionaires, it's a systemic issue. The tax code is over 70,000 pages long, and it's filled with provisions that are specifically designed to benefit the owners of capital at the expense of the providers of labor. The carried interest loophole, which allows private equity and hedge fund managers to pay a lower tax rate than their receptionists. The 1031 exchange, which allows real estate investors to defer capital gains taxes indefinitely. The list goes on and on. And then there's the final, most elegant part of the scam, the die part. The step-up in basis is perhaps the single most egregious loophole in the entire tax code. It allows the wealthiest families in the country to pass on trillions of dollars in assets to their heirs completely tax-free. It's a system of inherited aristocracy, hiding in plain sight in the tax code of a supposed democracy. Think about what this means. A family can accumulate a massive fortune over generations, never paying a cent of tax on the growth of their assets. They can live off tax-free loans and then pass on the entire fortune to the next generation, who can then repeat the process. It's a perpetual motion machine of wealth accumulation, all made possible by a single, obscure provision in the tax code. So what can be done about this? The obvious answer is to tax wealth, not just income. A wealth tax, a tax on unrealized capital gains, or the elimination of the step-up in basis would all go a long way towards leveling the playing field. But these proposals are always met with fierce resistance from the very people who benefit from the current system. They say it's a tax on success. They say it will stifle innovation. They say it's un-American. But what's truly un-American is a system where a billionaire can pay a lower tax rate than a bus driver. What's truly un-American is a system where the rich can opt out of paying for the society that made their wealth possible. What's truly un-American is a system that is rigged from the start, a game that is designed to be won by the few at the expense of the many. The real reason billionaires don't pay taxes is not because they are smarter or more creative than the rest of us. It's because they have written the rules of the game in their favor. And until we, the people, demand a new set of rules, the game will remain the same, and the house will always win. Ma'am, and to the right. Let's bring this back to the ProPublica report that started this conversation. It wasn't just a random leak. It was a deep, data-driven investigation into the tax returns of thousands of the wealthiest Americans over a period of more than 15 years. What it revealed was a system working exactly as designed, but in a way that is shocking to the conscience of the average person. Consider Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha. He has famously said that he should not be paying a lower tax rate than his secretary. The ProPublica report showed that between 2014 and 2018, he reported an average annual income of about $24 million and paid about $24 million in taxes. That sounds like a lot. But during that same period, his wealth grew by an estimated $24.3 billion. His true tax rate, when measured against the growth of his wealth, was not 100% or 20% or even 1%. It was 0, 1%. For every $100 his wealth grew, he paid 10 cents in tax. How does your situation compare? If you make $70 zone dollars a year and you're single, you'll pay about $11,000 in federal income and payroll taxes. That's a tax rate of almost 16%. And that's before state taxes. You are paying a rate 160 times higher than one of the richest men in the world. Not because you're less patriotic or less hard-working, but because you earn income while he has wealth. This isn't a flaw in the system. This is the system. It's a system that was built by and for the wealthy. The tax code is not written by a group of impartial philosophers seeking to create the most just and equitable society. It's written by lobbyists and politicians in a process that is heavily influenced by the very people who have the most to gain from its complexity and its loopholes. Every line of the 70,000-page tax code is a battleground, and the side with the most money, the most lawyers, and the most influence usually wins. Think about the mortgage interest deduction. It's one of the most popular tax breaks in the country. But who does it benefit the most? The person who buys a $200 Odun house with a small mortgage, or the person who buys a $20 million mansion with a massive one? The bigger the loan, the bigger the deduction. It's a subsidy for the rich, disguised as a benefit for the middle class. Or consider the tax treatment of dividends. Qualified dividends are taxed at a lower rate than earned income. Why? The argument is that it encourages investment. But who receives the vast majority of dividends? The wealthy. The top 1% of households own over 50% of all stocks, so a lower tax rate on dividends is, in effect, a tax cut for the rich. This is the game, a game of 1,000 small cuts, 1,000 little rules and regulations that, when added together, create a system that is fundamentally tilted in favor of the wealthy. The buy, borrow, die strategy is just the most elegant and powerful expression of this underlying reality. So what is the end game? If the rich can accumulate wealth indefinitely without paying taxes, what does that mean for the rest of us? It means that the burden of funding the government falls more and more heavily on the shoulders of the middle class. It means that our roads, our schools, our hospitals, our social safety net are all funded by the people who can least afford it. It means that the social contract, the idea that we are all in this together, is broken. And it leads to a society that is increasingly unstable, unequal and unjust. A society where a small number of people live in unimaginable luxury while millions struggle to make ends meet. A society where the American dream is no longer a promise, but a cruel joke. The solution is not to punish success, it's to redefine it. It's to create a system where success is not measured by how much you can accumulate for yourself, but by how much you contribute to the society that made your success possible. It's to create a system where everyone pays their fair share. A system where the rules are the same for everyone, whether you're a billionaire or a barista. This is not a radical idea. It's the foundation of a functioning democracy, and it's a future that is worth fighting for. The first step is to understand the game, to understand how it's played and who it's played for, and to realize that the real reason billionaires don't pay taxes is not because they're criminals. It's because they wrote the rules, and it's time for us to write a new set of rules. A set of rules for the many, not the few.